Ever since the Pesky Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, or FATCA, was passed by U.S. Congress in 2010, there has been a consistent lobby to get it repealed. The voices of discontent have come from around the world, where financial institutions are required to report their U.S. clients' banking activities to America's Internal Revenue Service. The move is expected to net $800 million a year in extra revenue for the Americans, but for financial institutions outside the United States, FATCA is a significant cost.
If one thinks about the enormous cost of putting in place these new systems, modifying computers, training staff, speaking to your clients and members, making sure that we do it correctly, that's the reason why it will cost financial institutions a fair amount of money. And I think globally it's estimated that it should cost, into the hundreds of millions.
And the financial institutions like the one Earl Jarrett heads do not have a choice. According to FATCA, any non-American institution which accepts deposits and hopes to do business with the U.S. must become a reporting agency for the IRS. So when FATCA takes effect in 2013, these institutions will have to supply the names and account information of any American person in their client base who has more than $50,000 invested or deposited. It's a way to catch American tax dodgers who hide money overseas, or green card holders and other U.S. persons who live and work outside America and may not realize they still have tax obligations to that government. But the obligation that the law places on foreign financial institutions like those in Jamaica is tremendous.
The concern is the amount of money that is going to take to be able to bring your systems up to speed such that you can provide accurate information to the IRS. In addition, entering into an agreement with the IRS brings in Jamaican bank secrecy laws as well. So you have to get your customers' consent. And particularly when you have a legislation like this, whereby Jamaica is not party to an agreement with the US with respect to the reporting of this information, where the financial institutions have to enter into the agreement with the IRS themselves, there could be some concerns with respect to what exactly am I getting into.
I think where most of the work is going to be to be able to segregate out those files and to get the consent of the individuals.
Irrespective of how many clients are affected, FATCA will require changes to databases, customer forms, computer systems, not to mention the teams of accountants and lawyers just to get compliance right. Not many financial institutions are happy, and it's not just about the money.
We think that nation states should talk to nation states. And if the United States government has an issue with its tax dodgers, then it should have that conversation with the country Jamaica. And that Jamaica should then put in place the mechanism to assist the United States in getting that information, such that I would be reporting directly to my regulators, and then my regulator would talk with the Americans. We should not take this approach of going directly to the institution, but let us build on the strong bilateral arrangements and relationships that we have established over many years. In fact, the United States of America is one of Jamaica's closest friends and partners. Most of our people live there. Most of our tourists come from the United States of America. Most of our exports go to the United States of America. We are neighbors. We are separated only by what some call a sea border. And therefore, the things that bind us should enable us to find a way to deal with this issue, rather than to take an approach where the institution is called upon to do the to make the determination and to report directly to the U.S. Treasury Department.
It's why many would rather the government act as an intermediary, providing the information to the U.S. authorities under a bilateral arrangement after gleaning it from local firms.
They have actually left out our local regulators out of the loop in this. We would want them to be incorporated, to be giving us, specific guidance in terms of what. The other challenge we have is that we take very seriously our obligations in terms of the secrecy of the customer information that we have.
It's a move which countries like France, Italy, Germany, Spain, and the United Kingdom have already successfully explored. They've negotiated to have their banks pass information about U.S. clients to their own governments, who will then pass it on to the IRS. What's more, the United States has agreed to do the same for them. It's an important development that addresses the issues troubling most financial institutions about FATCA. But can the same be done for Jamaica?
Our discussions with the U.S. authorities indicate that, as a principle, the avenue is open, but the actual protocols for setting up that relationship have not yet been clearly prescribed at this point. So it will require some further discussions with the US authorities to determine what would be the criteria and the ground rules for these bilateral arrangements.
And the Jamaican government says it will explore those discussions with the United States. Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips says while banks should start preparing for implementation in 2013, the Jamaican government will be looking into the possibility of undertaking the reporting requirements under FATCA.
Fact is that we are facing a new regulatory environment globally. We can make adjustments. We must advocate our position, but we ought not to believe that we can reverse the tide of globalized regulations which is upon us.
There is a question as to capacity of what we need to find out what are the underlying obligations for government before the government could take over that responsibility. We would also have to find out what is the capacity. How do these arrangements work in other countries? Is it sharing with the supervisor? Is it sharing with the tax authorities? Who is the transmission point to the US State Department? And are there any liabilities of the government that could arise from carrying out this function?
So the consensus seems clear. FATCA is an inevitability for Jamaican institutions. As those affected prepare, the leader of one of Jamaica's premier financial organizations wants clients and customers to bear one thing in mind.
Let us not think anybody do us anything. It's a matter that we need to understand, and we need to, therefore, from understanding, move to appropriate action.